When you do the bare minimum at work, is that setting a boundary, or is it a place where your obedience now demands an audience? That question hits deep because your defense isn't imaginary. Putting in extra effort can feel pointless when the boss overlooks it, the raise never comes, and the system seems to reward carelessness. So you do just enough to avoid being questioned, convincing yourself this is wisdom. Sometimes it truly is. Scripture doesn't ask you to worship a paycheck, excuse an unjust master, or burn yourself out for a company that treats people like disposable tools. A fair limit can protect what God has entrusted to you. But there's something else hiding near that limit. It's not about one tired afternoon or saying no to unpaid exploitation. It's the repeated, quiet agreement that diligence only matters when it's seen, praised, or paid back quickly. This trend has a name: quiet quitting. Gallup reported U.S. employee engagement dropped to 31% in 2024. That's the feeling of doing exactly enough to avoid scrutiny while quietly withholding your full self. Pause here, because this is where excuses and wounds begin to speak as one. Your company may seal the time card and count the hours, but underneath lies a second invisible ledger. Your soul records what those hours are teaching you. Maybe the boundary is real, and maybe bitterness has started to dress itself in that boundary's clothes. This is where Scripture shifts the category. Colossians 3:20-29 doesn't start with your employer's view of you. It speaks to labor done under earthly masters, naming the hidden problem as eye service. Then comes its opposite, sincerity of heart. Scripture points to the precise moment when your effort changes, the moment someone stops watching. That's uncomfortable, because eye service doesn't always look lazy from outside. It can seem responsible, present, safe. The shift happens underneath. Instead of asking, "What has God entrusted to me in this hour?" you ask, "Who's watching, and what can I get away with?" Let me say this carefully, because many cross this line without hearing it. The Bible doesn't give your employer ownership of your soul. Ephesians 6:5-9 addresses workers, but it also speaks to masters, reminding us there is a master in heaven. That means the person above you is not ultimate, and neither is the one above them. Colossians 4:1 presses this truth harder, commanding masters to treat people justly and fairly. So no, this is not a holy excuse for exploitation, but it also isn't permission for resentment to become your secret master. There's a workplace with two clocks. One measures shifts, minutes, tasks, logged time. The other measures who you become when no one is watching. One belongs to the company. The other stands before God. And that second clock is the one bare minimum bitterness wants you to ignore. Your employer does not own your soul. Your resentment does not get to own it either. The unseen part of your labor is not truly invisible. It has simply been placed before a different witness. Stay with the evidence now. This is where the argument moves beyond slogan. Set the arguments down like objects on a workbench. A grain of harvest, a loaf of paid bread, an official accusation document with nothing written on it, and a prison key that never becomes a crown too quickly. Scripture doesn't build this case with vague pressure. It presents physical things and asks what kind of soul forms around them. First, Proverbs 6:6-11 sends the sluggard to the ant. Not to a king, not to a manager, not to a supervisor with a clipboard. The ant has no chief, no officer, no ruler, yet it prepares its bread in summer and gathers its food in harvest. The winning that follows is just as physical. Folded hands, a little sleep, a little slumber, and poverty coming near. For context, this is a creature that prepares before anyone praises it. The grain of harvest is not applause. The bread is not a bonus. The ant becomes a living rebuke to the part of us that says, if no one notices, nothing matters. That is the first object on the table. Then comes the loaf of paid bread, In 2 Thessalonians 3-6, -12, Paul speaks from Thessalonica with a very concrete memory. He says he did not eat anyone's bread without paying for it. He worked with toil and labor, night and day, so he would not become a burden. Then he commands quiet work, not loud performance, nor spiritual talk covering disorder, but a life where responsibility becomes visible in the body. Bills paid, bread earned, disorder refused. This is not hustle baptized in Bible language. It is faith becoming traceable in ordinary weight, the kind of obedience that can be held in the hand, counted at the table, and recognized in the absence of excuse. Now place the empty accusation document beside it. Daniel 6-3-5 puts Daniel under the Medo-Persian high officials and satraps. His rivals searched for grounds of complaint against him concerning the kingdom. They were not trying to honor him. They were trying to trap him. Yet they found no corruption or negligence, because he was faithful. Hear the tension clearly. Daniel's excellence did not make the hostile systems safe. It did not make the satraps gentle. It did not turn rivals into friends. But it made him hard to accuse. That matters. Because the goal of unseen diligence is not to guarantee that every unjust environment will reward you. The goal is that the environment does not reproduce itself inside you. The blank accusation document is not proof that people became fair. It is proof that Daniel refused to become false. Then there is the prison key. Genesis 39 places Joseph in Potiphar's Egyptian house, where he is entrusted with responsibility over the household. Later, it shows him under the prison keeper's charge, with prisoners put under his care. 2 unfair rooms, 2 different levels of humiliation, the same unwavering integrity. In the house, responsibility did not guarantee safety. In prison, responsibility did not bring immediate release. The household keys did not turn into a crown too quickly, and the prison key did not open the door the moment Joseph proved himself. But that is the point. Scripture doesn't promise instant fairness at work. It highlights souls who refuse to be shaped by the injustice surrounding them. So when your effort goes unnoticed, the question isn't only, will this be rewarded? The deeper question is, what is this making me? Because the harvest, the bread, the false accusation, and the prison key all testify to the same quiet truth. Unseen faithfulness is never invisible. It is being weighed before a different witness. Here is the warning, quieter than most expect. Luke 16:10 does not brush off the small things. It says, "The one faithful in very little is faithful also in much, and the one dishonest in very little is dishonest also in much." That doesn't mean every task deserves the same energy. It means the repeated choice of the hand reveals what the heart is learning. A small groove carved in wood begins without drama. One pass seems harmless. One private shortcut. One hidden refusal. One bitter thought whispered inwardly. If they don't value me, I no longer have to be whole. Then the hand returns to that groove. Again and again. What started as protection quietly becomes a permanent channel. This is conditional obedience. It doesn't say, I need rest. That can be wisdom. It doesn't say, this limit protects my health, my family, my calling, my Sabbath. That can be good stewardship. Conditional obedience says, I will only be faithful when the reward feels fair. I will only be careful when a human witness makes it worth my while. For context, this isn't about answering one extra email at midnight. It's about whether your ordinary hand still belongs to God, when the task feels beneath you. Ecclesiastes 9:10 brings the focus back. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Not with panic, not people-pleasing, not out of loyalty to a company that may never truly understand its value, but with quiet strength, because the small task still shapes the person who performs it. No employer can pay enough to make bitterness holy. So the little thing is not little. The unpaid feeling is not empty. The unseen choice is not neutral. Long before tomorrow's greater obedience arrives, today's repeated groove has already been shaping the hand. Before this ends, ask yourself only one thing inside. At the end of the shift, an unseen ledger closes, not reflecting the paycheck amount nor the supervisor's opinion, but quietly recording what the heart has agreed to become. If the mark is 1, it names exhaustion that calls for real boundaries. Health, family, calling, and Sabbath are not scraps to be discarded. If it is 2, it calls out resentment disguised as wisdom. If it is 3, it reveals negligence hidden behind words of fairness. If it is 4, it honors quiet faithfulness that requires endurance. Imagine placing a single stone on the ground and admitting where the true battle lies. No performance, no defense, just a private witness before God. This is not a call to be exploited, but an invitation back to wholeness, where resentment has shrunk you. God notices the labor your boss overlooks, and he also sees the part of you tempted to vanish when no one applauds. Blackout.